Welcome to Super Movie Brothers. Let's start the show.
This is a podcast on the Podfix Network. You can check out more shows like it at podfixnetwork.com.
Welcome to Super Movie Brothers, episode 61. I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Dave.
I'm your host, Super Movie Brother Jay. What's up, man?
It sounded so unnatural.
What's up, man?
It's so fake. As fake as my intro. So, Jay, what the fuck have you been up to this week?
Well, my parents and my sister had their, birthday / anniversary day on Friday.
Wait, your parents and your sister all share like
a
birthday?
They share the same day. No. My parents' anniversary is on the same day as my sister's birthday.
Gotcha.
So, kind of a big day, but my parents were away down the shore. And my sister went out with some friends and met up with them a little bit later in the day. I was golfing during the day. That was kind of fun. And
what a shock.
Yes, of course, getting my golfing.
Where did you guys hang out? Was this like at the country club? Did you guys like have a little
afterwards? Yeah.
Have a little golf sesh at the
a little beer, a little food, yeah.
At the nice. Country club. Celebrate the birthday. Celebrate the anniversary.
Nah, I was with my my cousins and our friends. And I watched SNL on Saturday for my boy Gus.
I was gonna ask you that because me and Lauren watched it earlier today. Motherfucker cannot keep a straight face.
He can't keep a straight face. No. And it's kind of adorable. But the skits were horrible, I thought. That's the thing. Like, the number one thing I came across with the show is I didn't like the show because I didn't like the skits.
I mean, and it's tough for people who come into SNL as a guest because they're not always involved in all the rehearsals that go out and all the table reads and stuff like that. They kind of come in, I think, on Thursday or Friday and do a few hours there and stuff like that.
I think they're there all week, actually.
Yeah,
they start pitching stories, skits on Monday or something. But
they're not as accustomed as the rest of the cast
they're not professionals,
right?
You know.
Yeah, to stand up there. So a lot of times you see celebrities, and Ryan Gosling very much so. You see him looking at the cue cards. A lot,
right?
A lot, and
trying to keep a straight face and
he
stay in
laughs.
character.
I mean, there was they went back and they did the Kate McKinnon Alien interview, a sequel.
I'm kind of happy they brought that back. It wasn't as strong as the first one, obviously.
No, Kate McKinnon was still strong in it.
Oh no, she was great.
He was not as good as he was the first time.
No, but his part was mostly just bend over and let
it was
motorboat his ass.
Lauren's like, I think Kate McKinnon just really probably sat there and at that writing table and was just like, no, we're doing this because I'm touching his ass. I mean, she didn't just touch his ass; she full on buried her face in his ass.
She was all in it, all in that.
So it was still enjoyable. SNL,
it was just okay. Especially for a season premiere, I was kind of like, I thought they would come out with a little bit more strong material.
His monologue was terrible. I hated that monologue about him saving jazz and stuff. It just got so old, so quick. I feel
like they were trying to make fun of the whole La La Land success of last year, and then ended with Emma Stone coming out and all that. But it just didn't really work. And I feel like, especially with the general audience, it definitely would go over their head. I think they were trying for something.
I don't think it went over anybody's head. I just think it failed to be funny.
Yeah,
I think it just failed to really deliver on any punchlines.
I mean, I wasn't loving it. That's for sure.
Its punchline was that people wrote that La La Land is attributed to saving jazz, therefore he thinks that he saved jazz, blah, blah, blah.
And everyone's saying he didn't, but he's not listening.
So it's a one-note thing that wasn't funny, the first punchline, and then you make that same punchline over and over the whole time. It just really wears on you. I don't like it at all.
Yeah. But real quick, I just want to get through, I just started a few shows, 2 of them on HBO. Curb Your Enthusiasm, finally back after 6 years. Strong
Turn it off!
Episode.
I'm not coming.
Love it. I love that shit. And The Deuce is a very interesting show.
I had no interest in that at all. That's the James Franco as a pimp or a drug dealer and whatnot.
No. Actually, So
it's about the beginning of the porn industry, right? Like the porn industry as we know it.
Yeah, and prostitution in the 70s, New York. It's kind of mostly about different kind of hustlers. It's kind of a mix of different kind of storylines. James Franco is actually...
I'm a hustler, baby, and I want you to know.
He plays two different characters, two brothers. One's just essentially a compulsive gambler.
Just going full on Eddie Murphy with that shit.
And the other guy is just kind of like the honorable business guy. He's just trying to make it. He's just hustling, bartending a lot, bar managing, and just getting involved with some things. He knows everybody in town.
Yeah.
And it's an intriguing show. I mean, it's not that great. It's just a look behind the curtain of the 70s and that era in New York and that kind of lifestyle.
I mean, Jay, the fucks I couldn't give could fill a fucking bucket about that show.
Yeah,
I saw the trailers for that and I was like, no. I mean, that's like Vinyl. Like I saw the trailers for Vinyl. I was like, I'm not going to watch that shit.
I gave it a shot. I did
not like Vinyl at all.
Yeah, I didn't like it either.
It just looked very similar to me in tone, in time period, and, you know.
This is a little bit more well crafted, I think. But also, finally, Manhunt, Unabomber.
Oh,
I think it's on the Discovery Channel or something like that.
It's like a true crime one. That's the one with Sam Worthington,
Sam
right?
Worthington and Paul Bettany's playing the Unabomber.
What the fuck what have they been reduced to, these two?
It's not bad.
No.
I'm telling you, I'm like
I will say
halfway through the miniseries.
I will say this. You might see things like, obviously the way the Emmys went this year, for those of you who don't know.
Right. All the networks are trying to get into mini episodes.
Yeah, Handmaid's Tale won for I think
Hulu, right?
Yeah, for Hulu. It's the first streaming service to ever win for like best drama. Streaming service. Okay. Everyone thought Stranger Things was going to take away a lot. Turned out that Handmaid's Tale did. And I watched that with Lauren. We watched it this weekend. Good show. I mean, like, good show. I mean, I'm not going to rave and you know, rant about it and say like how fucking fantastic it was, but it was really good. It was really well made. So and that it's not that it's a mini series or anything like that. That will continue on, but other things are taking away awards that were mini series. Big Little Lies. Nicole Kidman won for best actress in a drama. That was a mini series.
And Alexander
Skarsgård won for best actor in a drama as well. So those are mini series too. And I think you're right. You know, you're getting into, plus that whole true crime thing is really hitting right now. I watched interesting true crime TV show too. I started Confession Tapes on Netflix, and it is all about coerced confessions in the criminal justice system, and it's kind of amazing.
Speaking of that, Netflix has Mindhunter coming out soon. Isn't that what it's called? The David Fincher.
Oh yes,
series.
Yes.
Yeah. That's coming out, I think, next week or a week and a half. I think it's like October 13th, something like that. But that should be an interesting show, and I think that's right up Dave's wheelhouse. He went to school for all that good stuff.
Yeah, yeah, I love watching.
I'll give it a shot because I loved Fincher. You know,
because it absolutely blows my mind how like these cops who you know interrogate people and interview people for a living, you know, don't realize that like coerced confession is like a real thing. You can sit someone like they will sit people in a chair for 18 hours at a time and grill them with questions. And, you know, that person, all they want to do is leave. They mentally break a person down.
Right.
And the person just eventually admits to it for, even if they didn't do it. Because if someone...
It's almost like they're making themselves think that they did it or had some kind of part.
That is a thing that happened. I mean, there's the famous case of the five juveniles who were accused of raping a woman in Central Park. They were grilled for 18 hours, each of them. And they confessed, you know, several of them confessed, and they even said like, well, this person did that, you know, and like my friend did this, he did that. They started blaming each other for things that didn't actually happen because they were stuck in a chair for 18 fucking hours. So it's absolutely amazing how they go through and they coerce these confessions from people. And
are these people not have representation? Like
no, they do. But the fact is, you know, law is not as cut and dry as you think it is. I mean, it sounds great to say that,
very
you know,
long and drawn out.
Yeah, it's great to say that, you know, this is right, that's wrong. You did the wrong thing, you go to jail. But it's not that simple, especially when you get into evidence. You know, one of the worst things that can happen to you is for you to be accused of a crime, especially if you didn't commit it, because they will it's not that they will make evidence, it's that they will find evidence to tie you to it, and you will have to defend yourself against it. They don't have to prove. I mean, it is on their burden to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt, but when evidence starts mounting up against you, even if you didn't do it, it becomes hard to defend against that evidence, especially if your alibi is as simple as sitting at home. Can anyone corroborate that? No.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, no one could. Yeah,
I guess nowadays technically technology can. I mean, essentially.
It depends. Did you make a phone call in that time that you were sitting at home by yourself? Because otherwise your GPS locator didn't turn on your phone. They don't know where you are.
For example, you can make a Facebook post, and it'll even actually say.
That's if you did. God forbid you were sleeping at that time.
I know. I'm just saying. There are some things
it's
that
not
you can get lucky with. But
now, to be fair, a lot of these cases that are into confession tapes are happening in the 1990s, early 90s and stuff.
But it's still fascinating.
Absolutely
I'm sure
fascinating.
You would love that.
I
would probably like it too. Actually,
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
I recommend it to anybody who has like.
It depends on how long the shows are, because I might get a little drawn out.
There's an hour. Each one's an hour. There's 8 episodes, and each one's an hour. They're incredibly interesting to watch. And if you watch them with the mindset that I have, like you've gone to school for this, like my palm slapped my forehead so many times, and I was like, how is this even legal? Like I don't even. And it's like, fuck,
that's crazy. I don't like that.
So another one that I watched was American Vandal, the dude that drew the dicks on Netflix.
I have no idea.
That's a fun one. It kind of pokes fun at this type of true crime type phenomenon that's kind of going on right now with like making a murderer and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't watched American Vandal on Netflix yet, I highly recommend it. It's really satirical. It's absolutely hilarious. I absolutely, me and Lauren watched it in one day. It was so good. It was so funny. Anything else you've been watching, Jay?
Well, I did make it out to the theater to see American Made. I think we talked about the trailer before.
Is this the one where Tom Cruise is, his wife is 25 years younger than him?
Yes.
Yeah. It's the most unbelievable part of it.
When you first see her, you think that, you're like, what the fuck? It was very drastic. It was very noticeable. Now, granted, Tom looks great and all that, but it's still very noticeable. But quickly, she actually does a pretty good job in the film, and I thought, you forget about that kind of quickly.
So is she playing an older character, or is he playing a younger character? Like I got the sense that he was playing like a guy in like
a little younger.
I got the sense he was
like
playing
30s.
He was playing a guy like in his 30s,
yeah.
but like when you zoom in on him, he looks like a guy in his like fucking late 50s.
Yeah. I mean, he still has that good hair.
I mean,
as long as he keeps it dyed, that nice shade of brown, he's okay.
Credit to him. It doesn't look like he's had any like Botox or any type of work done. Like I think he's just going all natural.
I think he probably just uses all that Scientology money for some really good, genetic resurgence on his skin cells.
Yeah, that's code for slaying infants and bathing in their blood.
So, but Tom Cruise and Doug Liman, they reunite after the great Edge of Tomorrow movie that we all liked.
Yeah, I fucking
that was a
love
surprise.
That movie. But I saw this and I had no interest in it whatsoever.
I did. It was up my wheelhouse. It kind of reminded me of a little bit of like Blow and
I have
Wolf of Wall Street kind
multiple times. I hate Blow. I don't like Blow. I understand that I'm in the minority in that, and I don't like Blow. But
I love that.
Go
movie.
fuck yourself. I really don't care. I found that movie pretty boring, and I could not stand Johnny Depp in it, and Penelope Cruz is absolutely fucking annoying as shit in most things that she's in.
Well, definitely supposed to be in that movie. So this is a really wild, and it's based on a true story. In the early '80s, follows this pilot. Cruz is playing, a Southern charismatic kind of guy.
But you didn't mention the best character in the movie, at least the best actor in the movie.
Domhnall Gleeson.
My boy.
I know. Well, he draws him out. He's a CIA agent. He kind of draws him out from smuggling cigars, just like small time bullshit to essentially. Well, he was trying to use him as an asset to further progress his career in the CIA. He's just kind of like plants a little mole to try and catch all these kind of.
He's a young CIA agent.
Photographs, and then he starts, all kinds of shenanigans go on, and. Unbelievably, I don't know exactly how much is true, how much is embellished, how much is just made up. But that's the worst part about this movie. Like, it goes to a point where what? Like, it is so
Jay, it's safe to say that
unbelievable.
most movies that are based on a true story, it's mostly embellishment.
I hear you.
And loosely based on true events.
But this is really over the top. And it gets to the point where, like, you can kind of see it being plausible to some degree at that time period. But, like, man, it's out there. And that's my biggest drawback from the film is mostly that. But the same thing, Tom Cruise, as charismatic as he is, and he kind of pulls you through the whole movie.
How many scenes
he doesn't do that much acting.
How many scenes was he running in it?
One small one.
The one that they fit into the trailer where he's running down the street?
Not that one, but
because there is. So then he has two, because there is one in the trailer where he's running clearly, like in the trailer.
That's not a normal Tom Cruise run, though.
No, but they made sure that he was running.
When the camera is going like 80 miles per hour, it makes him look like he's running like a god, like
at least,
Flash or something.
At least 60% of trailers for Tom Cruise are him running.
God, of course, with like that that fear look and like some kind of like scream.
Yeah,
and he's like running. Yeah, so ultimately, there are enjoyable moments to be had in this film, but
just shut up and fucking score it.
It's a failure. Not a failure, but it's just an okay film.
Just shut up and score it.
It's still a B-, I think. It's still a B-. I hated on it. I was trying to be really critical with it. But
now, look, I know Nick from Epic Film Guys agrees with you that Kingsman 2 was shit, but fuck you for giving Kingsman 2 like a fucking C and giving this movie that you're so lukewarm on and have nothing really good to say about it a fucking B-.
No, I thought the production values was pretty good.
Yeah,
and
whatever.
Some action scenes, but
why don't you go gargle more of Lineman's cum?
It was more enjoyable to watch to some degree, I think, than the Kingsman.
Anyway, no, I really didn't get to watch like a whole lot of like movies this weekend. We were pretty busy all weekend. We went to the Pennsylvania Renaissance Fair on Saturday, and it was fucking awful. Absolutely fucking awful.
Why?
Because it was Oktoberfest. So, and it's the last weekend of the year for them. They still will run through October, but they'll actually shut down like half of the park. So most people won't actually go out. It's very, very small for October, for the rest of October. And then it'll close down until I think, summer next year.
Wow.
But we got there around like noon and stuff like that. And last time I had been there, I went there for a bachelor party for my friend Kenny's bachelor party. We had a great fucking time. It was a bunch of dudes going around drunk as shit, having a ton of fun, fucking with people, people fucking with us.
I remember that. Okay.
A lot of fun. So Lauren had never been, so Lauren's like, "Can we go to the Renaissance Fair?" And I was like, "Absolutely, we can go to the Renaissance Fair. Let's fucking go. We're gonna get shit faced. We're gonna have fun. We're gonna eat. We're gonna sober up, and then we'll go home."
It was a lovely day.
Yeah, it was really nice day weather-wise. Then we get up there and it's like 40 fucking degrees in Lancaster, which is like 15 degrees colder than it was here. We get there and like the second we're on the exit on the turnpike's even backed up.
Oh,
and Lauren's like, "Do you think all these people are going to the Ren Fair?" And I was like, "There's nothing else out here." Yes, they're all going to the Ren Fair because they're sure as shit not going to Hershey Park. So we get off the exit and it took like about a half hour just to get off the exit. Then we go to park and we're parked like a mile and a half from fucking Ren Fair.
Oh, man.
And she's like, "This is going to be packed." And I was like, "It's going to be packed." I was like, "But you know what? It's not like we have to wait in line for rides. It's not going to be that bad." We get in and it's like shoulder to shoulder people everywhere. And you couldn't see a show because there was too many people. You couldn't interact with any of the characters because there was too many people. We went to go see the joust and it was just way too many people doing that. I went to go watch the blacksmith make swords. I wanted to buy a sword, but I was getting bumped out of the way all the time with people like trying to get in there and play around with swords and shit. It was just so packed with people. And then they were selling these cups, $25 for a boot. And then it's $10 to fill the boot. But if you pay the $25 for the boot, they will fill it once for free. And then it's $10 every time you fill it after that. And I was like, that's not worth it.
No,
not at all. And so I didn't buy it. And I was like, whatever, I'll just go up and buy a regular beer. And there was only 2 beer stands in the entire, so this is Oktoberfest, by the way. There was only 2 beer stands in the entire Renaissance Fair. And the line, no lie, was 40 minutes to get a beer. So, like, you might as well get a beer, get in line for another beer and do nothing else. It was Lauren was so miserable. And then we did find some fun. We found like the little game section. There was like nobody in the game section, so I got to do throwing knives, throwing axe.
Oh, that's cool.
And I still have bruises on my arm from archery because I let my wrist bend out too much and I smacked my forearm with it. But I was pretty good at archery. Out of 18 arrows,
See, I would have liked to have done that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I got like 10 in the heart out of 18 arrows. That's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. You know, I'm no Legolas, but I did all right. So we had fun doing that, and then we decided like, fuck it, let's just leave. It's too many people. We can't deal with this shit. And we went to the brewery, which was like right in the same parking lot as them. And we go to the brewery, and we're like the only people in there. It was great. We go to get a beer, and the keg is tapped of the beer that I wanted. So the lady's like, oh, I got to go hook up the keg and stuff like that. She's gone for like 20 minutes. And in that time, people eventually realized what we realized.
Oh, boy.
Impossible to get a beer inside, but you can get your hand stamped, go to the brewery, get a beer, go back in. The line was out the fucking door. The lady finally comes out, gets us our beer, and it was my first beer of the day. And I was like, I'm fucking leaving. I'm not even fucking dealing with this anymore. And we just got up and we fucking left and we went home. It's the worst. Wasted an entire day driving 2 hours out to Lancaster, spending like 2 hours at the Renaissance Fair, and then driving home. We were just so miserable. Just so miserable.
And I was borderline going to ask you how it was, because I had a feeling that it was going to be a really good time.
Yeah, I love the Ren Fair. I really do. But now I realize I got to go. You got to go at like an off time. Honestly,
especially in that area, there's nothing else to do.
There's nothing else to do. Yeah, if you're not going to Hershey Park, I mean, it's really like the Ren Fair, and then I guess, I don't know, fucking cow tipping or, you know, baling hay. Whatever else they do out there.
I don't know.
Wife throwing? I don't know. Watching Amish people do things?
I guess.
So that's it, Jay. That was my my Saturday. And then I watched Eagles on Sunday. So, all right, Jay.
Yes.
Let's get into some news. All right, Jay, do you have any news items? Oh, of course you don't.
Nope.
All right. So for news this week, I got just some minor things. Men in Black spinoff in the works. Not starring Tommy Lee Jones or Will Smith. Now, you might remember that me and you reported on news way back in the beginning of when we first started this show a year and a half ago, that they were going to be doing a Men in Black 21 Jump Street crossover that wasn't necessarily going to have J and K in it, you know, Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, but the 21 Jump Street characters were going to cross over with the Men in Black universe. Right.
And I hated that idea.
It's uncertain whether this spinoff will continue that, but it is still in the works. You know, Sony wants to remind you that Men in Black is still a thing, whether Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones want to do it or not.
No, I have a strong feeling that it is definitely in the works, but I think it's actually going to be completely redone and recasted.
I like the idea of Men in Black. I think the universe is great.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. But I think they're going to go in a little bit of a different direction, and they are going to recast. I don't think Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones
recast. I mean, there's going to be different characters.
Well, yes. I mean, they're not going to be like K and J or whatever, but like it's just going to be.
And there's other agents.
H and Q this time or something.
There's other agents, so why not follow them?
Exactly. That's
I love Men in Black 1. Men in Black 2 is shit. But Men in Black 3 fucking made me cry. Like it's
me too.
Decent. Like it's decent as shit.
Shocked. That was one of that year. That was one of the more surprising movies from me because I had low expectations. The trailer didn't do it for me or anything like that. But I had to take my kids to work, from work to see it. And I was blown away.
And it
was really emotional at the end. My God, that beach scene. I was like,
and we found out that the best Tommy Lee Jones impressionist is Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin is the fucking man. He could do so many things.
He could do anything.
He's so special. That jawline.
All right, Jack. Here's one that you might enjoy. I don't know how you'll feel about this one. The Nice Guys, the film that had Russell Crowe and your boy Ryan Gosling. It was a Shane Black film. Mm-hmm. We enjoyed it quite a bit. It's getting its own TV series that will be produced by Joel Silver with a twist. Yes. The main characters will be female. I
did hear about this. So apparently this just solidifies the fact that the movie sequel will never happen.
But this reminds me of something that
Joel Silver's going to be behind it again. He's going to.
I bitched about this last year when the Lethal Weapon TV series started, and I was like, "That's not Lethal Weapon. That's just not fucking Lethal Weapon at all." That's another Shane Black buddy cop that's been... This is exactly the same thing.
I know.
And I was just... And believe me, I don't care that it's women. You can switch those characters out.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's... it's not an issue.
Don't think that format really works. I think it lends so much more... You don't get tired of the shtick in 2 hours, but you will get tired of the shtick throughout 22 episodes.
Especially when I think they're going to go with the campy route.
Exactly.
They're not going to be going with the R movie route that the movie did with some flawed characters.
But then why even connect it to Nice Guys in any way? Now, this is an early development.
It's going to be called The Nice Girls, I heard.
But this is an early development, so it's very easy that... It's very probable that by the time this show...
The pilot might not even be picked up.
But by the time that this shoots, the pilot shoots, it might not have anything to do with that, and they might drop the name entirely and any ties to it. It's
very possible.
So, but why even do it? Why even do it? I didn't need a Nice Guys 2, number one, but I would have enjoyed a Nice Guys 2. I would have given it its fair due.
Sure.
But I don't need this TV show, and I don't think that it's anything that I'm going to be interested in. And I guarantee you it's going to be on Fox.
Of course. This has Fox written all over it.
Right. Yeah.
It really does. But, the Lethal Weapon, I never even gave it a shot because you're right. It's not Lethal Weapon. It's a whole fucking different entity. So that's unfortunate.
Jay, we didn't report on this a couple weeks ago. Liam Neeson retired from action films. But just like when Snoop Dogg retired from weed, Liam Neeson is unretired from action films, baby.
Goddamn right.
He's a man of a particular set of skills, and he's going to keep on doing it.
Hey, if Harrison Ford can do it, Liam Neeson can do it.
I'm happy that the Taken movies are done.
Yes.
I saw the trailer for Liam Neeson's most recent one where he's on the train and he's kind of like tricked into working for it. Looks like shit. It reminds me a lot of that one.
But
doesn't it remind you of the one where he was the marshal on the plane?
Right. Fucking A.
I thought that's why he retired. He's just like, you know what? I'm doing the same thing over and over again. And then he probably retired for about a month and the phone stopped ringing. And his ace is just like, Neeson, mate, baby, can we please? Liam.
Baby, please, come on now.
You gotta unretire, mate. I'm unretired. Phone's ringing again. All right, here's another one. So, we know that Tom Hardy was targeted by Sony to target it as if like it's a death sentence for him. Might as well be. He's been tasked to play Venom in the Sony Venom movie.
Yeah.
Spin-off from the Spider-Man series. Michelle Williams is now in talks to star opposite of him.
Yes. So that's definitely a double eyebrow raise now.
Right? It's very strange that it's like, wow, these are two high caliber actors that you're going after. Both Academy Award winners, right? No, Tom Hardy's not. Michelle Williams is.
Actually, I don't think she is either, to be honest. Is she?
Okay, so Academy Award nominated
for sure.
Nominated actors for this.
Yes, but also
their body of work does not lend to this whatsoever.
Exactly. More than anything, I think the most commercial movie that Michelle Williams ever did was Oz the Great and Powerful.
I think so, yeah.
And you can understand why she would even take that movie because it's a Sam Raimi film, and it's.
I mean, Jay, other than her days on the creek.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
She was on Dawson's Creek.
The Guys was a Musketeer and Young Hercules, so you got to start somewhere. So,
but no, I just think it's interesting that like we have these comic book movies that are coming out, and I've been saying that comic book movies have to either evolve or die. And now they're doing this thing where it looks like they're going after really, they're going after high caliber people now. It was that comic book movies were creating high caliber people. Chris Evans was kind of like a character actor.
Right.
Robert Downey Jr. had fallen off the face of the earth pretty much until he started playing Tony Stark. Chris Hemsworth was a soap opera actor from Australia.
He really was. He was a nobody.
A bit actor until he got the part for Thor. So, I mean, Jeremy Renner was, he was known. He might have been the biggest actor that was tasked with the Avengers. He might have been and Scarlett Johansson, which is kind of amazing because they are the two smallest characters in the film.
Yeah.
And then, it was like comic book movies were making actors. They were making stars now because they were in comic book movies. And now it's gotten to a point where it's saturated. And the only thing they can do to evolve is get high caliber people, high caliber directors, high caliber writers, high caliber actors to be in these roles. And they really want to raise the bar. And I think that's interesting that we talked about.
I think they're pitching as well? They're going to try and shoot it like Netflix style.
I'm sure they will. Yeah. And it's amazing that like they, we talk about Warner Brothers going after Leonardo DiCaprio, or at least announcing it to get someone of that caliber. Now we find out that Sony, not only has Tom Hardy, but they're trying to go for Michelle Williams. It actually excites me a little bit because it tells me that they're going to be doing something that might be more interesting than what you could think of in your mind.
Absolutely. I mean, it's definitely something to, keep your eye on and see how this progresses down the line. I can't believe you're still drinking that beer, Dave.
That hasn't happened yet, Jay. You're talking in the future, Jay. The people don't know that we film the beers, that we record the beer segment before we do the intro so that we can get a buzz going.
So excuses later down the line when we're recording and we're slurring our words.
All right. Jay, Lord and Miller may have been fired from Han Solo, but they found themselves some work. They are going to be working on the adaptation of Andy Weir's. If you don't know who he is, he was the author of The Martian. They're going to be doing a film adaptation of his Artemis.
Do you know what it's about? I mean,
the Artemis is the story of Jaz Bashara. He's a criminal. He's a smuggler. He lives on the first colony on the moon, and
it's another Han Solo movie.
It's called Artemis, and it obviously lends itself to comedy a little bit more because it's going to be a heist movie about a guy who just wants to make his way in the galaxy, in the world.
Right.
So they traded Han Solo, a heist movie, for this.
A different version of one. From a different galaxy from far, far away.
All right. So happy you asked what it was. We asked what it was worth.
Yeah.
You asked what it was about, and I found it for you. Okay. Jay, that does it for our news this week.
Okay.
So coming up next, me and Jay have an ever so brief trailer park where we are going to be talking about a director that me and Jay both
we just talked about, putting him as a candidate for a new Star Wars movie.
It's true. Yeah.
And we were wrong.
No. Well, I mean, obviously. I mean, it
was a very far-fetched.
Yeah, that was our pie in the sky.
Kind of guy, and J.J. Abrams got it. But
we're going to be doing a trailer park on Alex Garland's new film, Annihilation. The trailer just dropped several days ago, so stay tuned.
Natalie Portman.
Beer! Thunderstruck! Thunderstruck! Yeah, Thunderstruck! Thunderstruck!
Welcome back to Trailer Park. We're not going to do like a full 3 trailers. We might not even do 3 trailers anymore at all. I think Trailer Park is just going to be 1 trailer.
It all just depends, Dave. Whatever.
Yeah, unless like a bunch of trailers drop. That
which happens from time to time.
Yeah,
not very often.
Right around February, we'll start getting like all those trailers, January, February, or around Christmas time, we'll start getting
we'll start some. Well, we might get some Christmas movies.
Yeah, right around Christmas time, we're going to start getting all those trailers for the movies that are coming out in the summer, new trailers for Justice League and stuff like that. So we probably will go back to a 3 format. But for right now, I like doing just one. But Jay, the trailer we're talking about today is Alex Garland's Annihilation.
Can you describe its form?
No.
Was it carbon-based?
I don't know.
Did it communicate with you?
It reacted to me.
You really have no idea what it was.
So Alex Garland is someone both you and I really respect. We both absolutely love his first film, Ex Machina, and I love him as a writer. He was one of the writers that was on Dread 3D, which I absolutely loved that film, and he was also a writer on 28 Days Later, Sunshine. These are movies that I really enjoy.
Yes.
He was also a writer on The Beach. So he's obviously worked with Danny Boyle in the past.
Yeah.
But Ex Machina was, far and above something completely different than those things. It was so different. I absolutely found myself so drawn in by the minutia that was going on in that film that by the time I heard that he had a second film coming out, I couldn't wait to hear anything about it. And on IMDb for the longest time, there was nothing on there. Just said Annihilation, and casting was just that it was Oscar Isaac and Natalie Portman. That's it. There was no synopsis, no nothing.
Right.
And now we do have a synopsis. It is a biologist signs up for a dangerous secret expedition where the laws of nature don't apply. And you don't get that from this trailer at all.
Right. But it also makes sense that they took their time. There's a lot of, I think good looking CGI in this film, obviously. And there's also a lot of things to this. A lot of
Ex Machina was fantastic for
absolutely.
CGI.
And I think he probably holds himself up to a very high standard, especially coming off of that last film and getting such praise that he got and accolades too. He got many awards from it too as well. And as a writer, I think he wanted to just nail the script and make sure the performances just met what he was going for. And also visually, that takes a lot of time.
When I say gorgeous, this trailer is. This film looks like, at the very least, it's going to be fucking gorgeous. Like that opening shot of just all that color, that is just
and then walking throughout
color.
It, inside of it, and then you're supposed to I guess surround yourself and feel. I don't know. It was very interesting.
It starts off very strange. It's
very strange.
It's Natalie Portman sitting in a chair in a white room, and there's men wearing.
Well, after we see
suits.
her go through that colorful kind of thing,
she's wearing. They're all wearing the hazmat suits, and they're asking her, what was it? Did you see its true form? Yeah. She's like, no, what was it like inside? And
Can you describe it?
Right. Inside
like, no.
what? And it's like,
yeah, exactly.
And it just shows these images of her rowing a boat, of her, walking through this beautiful forest, of her looking at a deer, and the deer's antlers look like branches to a bush or a tree, and it has flowers on its antlers, and the deer is white, so it immediately sets you up for, you're not in our world. She's gone somewhere else. And they keep teasing that throughout it. It's like, what was it like inside? What did you see inside? And us, obviously, as the audience, we don't know inside of fucking what. But that's not really what the hook of the story is. The hook of the story is she's trying to solve the mystery of how her husband, Oscar Isaac, has now fallen into a coma. He's apparently had gone to the inside, which people in the trailer say is a suicide mission.
Right.
And he clearly didn't come out okay. So she obviously has a personal stake in going in there.
Yeah, she's obviously playing a tough character. She's shooting a gun, she knows what the hell she's doing.
Hell yeah, she is.
So obviously it's not like some kind of damsel in distress, just going, I want to know what happened to my husband.
I like that, because God, how much of a departure is that from her playing Jane in the Thor series? And
absolutely.
And a lot of what she does, while she has played a strong female character before, E for Vendetta, you don't get that you don't get that toughness from
too
her,
often.
You know what I mean?
Too often, right?
Right. So I think in this, you're not just you're getting a very capable character who's not only capable mentally. Obviously, she's some sort of scientist. She's brilliant.
No, I'm getting a lot of different kind of flavors from different kind of films that I really admire.
You are. I got like I got
movie.
kind of like a Ripley vibe of almost where it's like she maybe Ripley from Aliens, where she's tied into solving this problem emotionally more so than she is solving this problem for any type of greater good. You know what I mean?
There's parts of that as well.
Extremely, even now, even though we know kind of what the movie is about, that trailer doesn't really say a whole lot.
No, I mean, obviously, I'm going to go see the movie. I mean, it's got me in.
I want to see this movie now.
And I'm not even sure when the release is. Is there a release date for it? But mostly for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's
one of those things that like I am obviously very intrigued.
It's coming
I don't
out,
know what's going on.
It's coming out February 23rd, 2018.
That's a peculiar release date.
We have a long time before it comes out. Is it a peculiar release date?
No, that definitely is.
I mean, it obviously
for a movie in this kind of genre to come out in mid-February.
It obviously means that Skydance knows that this is not in contention for any type of Oscar.
Yes.
That's first off.
Well, that's definitely 100% true. That's surprising. I feel like that might get changed because that really does not make sense at all.
I mean, I haven't seen it on any circuits
because that's like borderline like highbrow sci-fi kind of stuff going on right there. I mean, that's not like a really commercial looking film. And mid-February, you need commercial films that are going to sell and people are going to go out to theaters to go see. This is kind of like an art house film in mid-February.
Ex Machina didn't come out too much later than that.
It was beginning of summer, midsummer.
2 months after it. It came out in April.
April?
It came out in April.
For some reason, I was thinking like
April 2015.
June.
So it didn't. It's not too far off from
that's
this
even a
release
weird release date.
Jay, it's not like this movie speaks to a lot of people. It's not like a lot of people are chomping at the bit. It's not like a lot of people know. And when I say people listening to the show probably know who Alex Garland is, but your general public doesn't know who Alex Garland is, and your general public hasn't even seen Ex Machina. So,
but this is like an October, November film to me.
No, I don't think so. I think it's appropriately placed. I think there's going to be nothing else around it. I think that it has kind of like that Ridley Scott bend to it. It has like that type of feel that maybe even a little bit of James Cameron, that in the drought of the winter of winter movies, it might find a home in February.
I hope so.
But I as far as the rest of the trailer goes, there's a lot of things that start raising your eyebrows.
It's just question marks. Different.
So like we talked about the deer that has the branch that has like instead of antlers that has branches with flowers. Other interesting things were like people like that had been turned into wood and plants and grass growing on them. There's one of a clear like male figure holding like a child's hand, and it's almost like this type of mass genocide had happened where like biological organisms, mammals and animals are being turned into plant life. It's very strange.
Yeah. And I wonder if like your human form stays stagnant and goes into like a coma based while you're like as a plant or a tree because you're still alive. But you're in like
Mrs. Jones, what's happening? All the plants are attacking.
You're in tree form now. So like, your human form is in like coma land, and then like you're in this other world.
But then there's like another interesting scene where she's like standing there. It's the very last shot of the trailer, and those figures are burning.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's weird, man.
But to be fair, like watching the trailer for like Ex Machina, you really don't know kind of what's going on in that film either. Like it's just kind of like
yeah, but it wasn't as out there as this one, I think.
I'm very intrigued.
I'm very excited. That's the number one thing. Like, I reacted to this in a way where it was very positive, but at the same time, it was just one of those things where like, well, you got my butt in the seat and I'm very intrigued. I have no idea what I just saw, but I'm intrigued.
I love how you say it like an old man. Well, I'm intrigued. Color me intrigued.
As I rock myself. Rub my belly and drink my beers.
I wash myself with a rag on a stick.
Oops, I dropped the soap.
Anyway, yeah, I'm extremely excited for this film. Extremely intrigued by it. But interestingly enough, while we are getting Natalie Portman in this film, 2 other female actresses were up for this role before Natalie Portman. They were obviously going for, I guess, an older type couple, because the first 2 actresses tied to it were Julianne Moore and Tilda Swinton.
Really?
Before Natalie Portman.
Huh.
And then they went with Natalie Portman. I think Natalie Portman kind of fits perfectly, especially when you have Oscar Isaac. I feel like similar age. And
but even regardless of what Natalie was doing in this movie, Tilda and Julianne would not fit.
How about the fact that Oscar Isaac, who gave a fantastic performance in Ex Machina,
has practically 0 screen time.
He's probably going to have zero screen time.
Well, and even in this trailer,
very little.
You can't even really see his face. He's just like kissing her in like a shaded type of like.
Kisses her in one scene, and the other scene they show him with tubes and everything coming out of him because he's in a coma.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah. Well.
He doesn't even have a speaking role in the trailer, and he's probably not going to be in the film.
He's just friends with the guy. He's probably just helping him trying to make his movie made, with his name.
Honestly, yeah, it's possible.
So,
honestly, or
it's he has a really good final act, like of the movie,
or it's one of those things where he just really is not just helping the guy, where he's just like, we made something great with Ex Machina. I want to be involved, whatever else you do. Of course, and he's involved. Coming up next, Jay is going to get into his indie corner. He's got an indie film that he's going to share with us, and I actually do have a fake synopsis this week, and I hope it holds up to the. Everyone went a week without the synopsis. I don't think anyone actually is waiting for my synopsises. I don't think people really care of my synopses, but whatever. So Jay is going to go ahead and pour himself a bourbon neat to wash away the beers
on ice tonight, Dave, because it's still warm outside.
It is pretty warm outside.
In our studio.
We had a nice weekend of like 40 degrees, and now it's like back up in
warming
80s.
Up again.
But anyway, Jay is going to pour himself a bourbon neat. He is going to put on his suspenders. He is going to slap on that mustache and wear it ironically with his square frame glasses, all while hitting on your girlfriend and getting real awkward when she's on her special time of the month.
Hello, catch up on that hot dog.
Oh, yeah, but Jay, everyone knows you're hung like a titmouse. I mean, even a 747 jet looks small flying into the Grand Canyon. It's a hot dog down the hallway, baby. So stay tuned for Jay's Indie Corner. Welcome back to Jay's Indie Corner. Jay's got a little indie ditty he wants to share with you. He's going to beg you to watch it. And hopefully he has a better synopsis and a better reason that you should watch this film than just go see it because Denis Villeneuve directed it.
Yeah, I think so.
All right, very good. Jay, what is your indie film this week?
Milk.
Yeah, I got a fake synopsis for this one.
Bring it.
So everyone knows the craft beer industry is booming. Craft alcohol is booming. We see a bunch of distilleries popping up, different wineries, craft. Why hasn't anyone done craft milk? And this is the story of...
I'm intrigued.
Of 3 competing dairy farmers, young and up-and-coming dairy farmers who are creating the world's first craft milk. They are feeding their dairy cows specialty foods, injecting their udders with this crazy thing to come out with all these fancy, flavorful, different types of milk. And the kicker is that they're in a competition to find out who has the best artisan milk out there. And of course, they're going to sabotage each other, Jay. So so they're sneaking onto each other's farms. They're sabotaging their cows, cow tipping, turning the cow sour every way they can. That's what my version of milk is really about.
Okay.
Shut up. Act like you wouldn't see that quirky indie flick.
Anything that Dave will do, I will watch.
How's it any different than like Butter? Butter is about a man and woman adopting a little girl, and she gets into butter carving, and she runs afoul of
You know what? I never caught that movie. I forgot about that movie.
She runs afoul of Jennifer Garner,
right? Yeah, and Hugh Jackman's in that, I think, too, right?
And then there's also Jason Bateman. Like it's got an all-star cast.
God.
It's actually pretty good. I like it a lot. Butter. So Milk
You just like saying that. Butter.
So Milk is kind of like the same thing, you know. It's all about competing your cows and making them with strawberry mocha lattes.
Mocha lattes.
Jay, what the fuck is Milk really about? And leave the AIDS out, please.
Yes, sir. This 2008 film, it is currently on Netflix, and it's directed by Gus Van Sant. Stars Sean Penn, Academy Award-winning Sean Penn on this film as Harvey Milk. This really important true life story about the rise of Milk's popularity in the San Francisco gay community, which led him into becoming the first elected openly gay person in public office. I think he was like a supervisor or something of a district. It also shows the many people and his lovers throughout his life, all superbly played by a absolutely wonderful ensemble. I mean, just IMDb it. I mean, it's an incredible cast in this film. I mean, it's honestly, really impressive.
I remember when this film came out. I did work at Blockbuster when this film came out.
Well, oh, really?
And there was a lot of people who like, and don't get me wrong, I would like to say that we were progressed at the time. It was a different time. Like, it sounds weird to say 2008 was a different time, but
I feel like it wasn't even that long ago. I don't know, but it really was.
But let's face it, the gay community was not as accepted in 2008 as you would say it is now.
Sure. Yeah. Well, every year it gets more and more accepted. Yeah.
And you know, it was amazing how many people like I recommended this film to, and like.
Got really upset with you?
No, not upset with me, but we're just like, no, that's not my thing. I mean, I did have a few people say like, and you know, this is them saying it, me repeating it, not like me saying this, but you know, like, no, that faggot film, no. And it's why don't you get out of here? This is Yardley, motherfucker. Why don't you go to the Levittown one? Just go to Levittown Blockbuster and you just go slum it with the rest of you Trump voters. No, I'm kidding. But anyway, yeah, I remember recommending this film to a lot of people who people who I had spoken to plenty of times and had like recommended, you know, different films of this ilk, other Gus Van Sant type films, and it would be right up their alley. But you know, for them, like at the time, the gay issue, as they called it, was something that people didn't want to deal with.
Well, you know, I think it was shortly after this when like the whole Prop 8 thing came, into fruition, and maybe this film actually played a good part in actually kind of. But by all means, this was a really well crafted, well made movie. I mean, it's not just because they're doing it because of a cause or a reason per se. This is warranted. It deserved its merits. You know, honestly, very well done.
Milk being gay is the secondary storyline in this film.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I mean,
it's more of a story of relationship and public service than it is.
That's very true, because that's everything this movie is really about.
Right.
This is what he does. This is what all of his friends do.
Right.
Not so much his lovers, but it's really mainly all of his friends are all very political, very active and activists in the community. And I love the sense of like just the time and urgency that every single character brought. And, and you just really got a sense of that time period. And you also had a lot of the quietness and a lot of gentle moments. And I think a lot of the character things that happened throughout that time period were pretty relevant and very, just dark and powerful stuff. I mean, because, towards the end of the film, you get this political battle between him and Josh Brolin. Brolin is like this kind of conservative counterpoint to Milk. He's a family guy and everything like that.
Which Northern California has its fair. Everyone thinks of California as a liberal state, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was their governor and he was a Republican.
State. Yeah, sure.
The Northern California is very much akin to the American South and the American Midwest. It is very Republican.
Yeah.
There's a lot of farmers. It's very interesting. It's a very interesting state because there's so many dynamics that exist within California.
Absolutely.
And San Francisco at the time was probably one of the most liberal cities in the country.
And
this is kind of like the birth of that.
Exactly. And he is definitely one of those big players behind that in history. And, obviously this is one of those things that were across the board. And Gus Van Sant, his beautiful direction, with a great script, which also won an Academy Award, was amazingly written. And this is a timely story as always, about love, passion, equality, and even like darker themes such as, suicide and like senseless hate crimes.
Yeah.
Like, especially towards the end, you see a lot of it, and even throughout. And it still holds up. And
Jay, what are your overall thoughts on Gus Van Sant?
Very hit or miss. I mean, I really appreciate and respect him as a filmmaker because he's extremely experimental. I mean, he can make things like, have you seen Elephant?
Yeah, I love Elephant.
Me too.
That's the story. That's the story of the school shooting, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I love that movie.
That movie shook me to the core.
So let's go through some of his films. Malinoche, 86, not a whole lot to say about it. Drugstore Cowboy, I do remember. It stars Matt Dillon. I do enjoy that film a fair bit. The one people always go to of his from the early 90s is My Own Private Idaho.
Right.
That is
River Phoenix.
Right. And that is highly regarded. But really, a bunch of documentaries and stuff like that throughout. And then Even Cowgirls Get the Blues. Very strange film with Uma Thurman. Not very well received. To Die For with Nicole Kidman. Not very well received. Good Will Hunting.
That just rocketed him right back up and
right.
started.
I mean, My Own Private Idaho was one of those things where, like, for the indie films at the time, which indie films then were not what indie films were now, it took a while for those type of things to take off. But My Own Private Idaho garnered him some recognition, but really didn't give him much of anything.
That got him to sell out to do Psycho.
Right. So, and then he did Psycho after that. Later on, we, actually next segment, we are going to do our top 5, like, sequels, prequels.
Right.
I left remakes out of this. What not just disappointing, probably the most unnecessary remake that's ever been done.
Absolutely.
So
I don't know what he was thinking. Maybe he.
No. He said 100 times what he was thinking. What he was thinking was that I'm going to show people that even though I am going to direct a film shot for shot as Alfred Hitchcock had done it, it's going to be a completely different film. And it was.
That's what
100% was.
I love him. Yeah, just for him saying that, like he doesn't give a flying fuck.
Right.
About the outcome of his films. As long as he's able to make his movies the way he wants to make his movies, that's all he cares about.
And then he did Finding Forrester, which is a little derivative of
Sean Connery.
Of Good Will Hunting in a way.
You can do a better impression of that.
Sean Connery.
Sean Connery.
Has anyone seen Forrester? I can't find him. Has anyone seen him? Forrester! Forrester! I've got some right pushy for you over here, Forrester. You gonna hit it or not? Paranoid Park. This film I
never
find
got to see it.
Is very divisive. I own it, Jay. You can have it. Not just
DVD?
borrow it. You can have it. It's a DVD. Yes. I actually really enjoy Paranoid Park.
You do?
It's very, very strange. And then he does Milk in 2008. Restless in 2011, which is a film I've never seen, never heard shit about.
Wait, which one?
Restless. And then he does a documentary, My Own Private River, which is about River Phoenix. And then he does Promised Land in 2012, which I've seen, but I'm not terribly impressed with Promised Land.
That trailer did not sell me whatsoever. No. And it had Matt Damon in it and everything, and I'm sure it's a very timely, real, true kind of story that's probably prominent in the Midwest or whatever.
And then Sea of Trees in 2015.
I can't give my time up for
I haven't seen
movie.
Sea of Trees in 2015.
That's supposed to be extremely depressing. Essentially, these two guys are going there to kill themselves.
What I'm saying
Suicide Forest.
Milk is clearly Milk and Good Will Hunting are like the high tide,
huge
high watermarks, the standouts for him. And to me, he's very much the same type of director as Aronofsky, where it's like it's hit or miss.
But they're also movies that he did not write.
It's true.
He directed them. So these are probably, obviously he's a passion filmmaker. So like whatever's he's passionate about at the time and he really wants to make and he has some kind of vision for, he just fucking does it. And it doesn't matter who's in his movie. He could be absolutely unknowns. It could be like Milk, a full-blown all-star cast.
I will say this: he pulls fantastic performances out of people.
Absolutely. I love it. I mean, I don't know what his thing is. I mean, I would love to see a documentary about this guy a little bit more, behind the scenes kind of thing, about his inner workings. I'm sure he has his own little production company that are very particular, maybe personally little artsy highbrow kind of folks kind of underneath them. But I don't know. I'm intrigued. But this is a movie that always really stuck with me. And I feel like, I saw it on Netflix. I've seen it obviously many times. And it's just one of those things where I really want to highlight it again and put it out there. And I think it's a really good movie. And
his next film it doesn't have a release date yet, but it is called Don't Worry, He Won't Get Too Far on Foot.
Well, and
which is coming out in 2020. It does have an interesting cast. Joaquin Phoenix is playing John Callahan, a man who was paralyzed after a car accident when he was 21, and he turned to drawing as a form of therapy. It's got Jonah Hill, Rooney Mara, Jack Black. So it's got an interesting cast. But
you never know what you're going to get with Gus. That's the thing.
You never know what you're going to get with Joaquin.
That too. But actually, Joaquin had, actually, I think I just heard this news today. He had this movie that he had.
The best quote about Joaquin Phoenix ever came from Family Guy, where after River Phoenix died, we were left with the hair lip reminder of what could have been.
So this movie that he just dropped at the Cannes Film Festival this summer, You Were Never Really Here, won awards for and stuff. The trailer looks absolutely fantastic. All of a sudden, I think I heard it just got bumped to like maybe next year at some point. Well, I don't know why. I have no idea.
It's not even on his IMDb.
I just heard that today. I'm not sure if that's even confirmed.
Jay, it's not even on his IMDb
throwing
list.
That out there. No, it is. It's right here. Yeah.
Okay. Whatever.
But go check out that trailer.
Oh, you're talking about Joaquin. I thought you were talking about Gus Van Sant. That's why I was like, it's not his IMDb. But Jay, why should people go see Milk? Other than, you said the performances, the wishy-washiness, and probably the best film you can watch of Gus Van Sant. I mean, I think socially it has a lot to say about then that resonates to even to today. I think that's an important thing. Well,
absolutely. I mean, as far as equality and also just being honest with yourself and just trying to be the best you can be for the community, for the greater good, and whether and how you interact with other people.
And how about this? Whether it's true to life or not, a politician that's honest with his people.
Right. No, exactly. And I don't know where that is.
I don't know whether Harvey Milk was an honest person in real life, because as we said before, when you were talking about American Made, how much of this is really true? You could say the same for Milk. How much of this is really true? But at least it's a portrayal of an honest.
I have a feeling this is pretty accurate, I think. And also, I don't know if we're going to go into spoilers, but Josh Brolin's character, same type of thing. He could have been a very honest guy as well. I mean, but just coming from a different kind of conservative angle and background, and he, I think, got beaten in the race, and he was just sour by it. And I think they had some type of earlier on mutual respect for one another to some degree,
right?
And I think things just went bad after he lost in office. But ultimately, I mean, and coming off of we should say today we had the most tragically significant mass shooting terrorist act essentially.
Last count I heard, 50 dead, 400 injured.
I think it was over 50 now. And our hearts and thoughts go out to everybody in Las Vegas at that show. It's just pretty crazy, and it's one of those senseless things where more you find out about even the shooter, it doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't make any sense. No. And there is no rhyme.
We may never get all the answers.
And that's the most fucked up part about it, I think, in a lot of ways. That's the saddest thing. And so, this is only the beginning of it. I mean, obviously, we're going to be hearing more and more about
Milk
things, but this is, again, but like how I talked about before, senseless hate crimes, and this might not be a hate crime, but like it's a senseless crime, a senseless act of violence for no reason. And it's another issue that isn't addressed in this movie, and it's fucked up. It's sad, and it really pisses me off. I hate that shit. I think it drives me nuts.
Never mind. I was gonna make a joke, but I realized after everything you just said, I can't make a joke. So fuck you, because I can't make a joke. I was gonna make a joke, but I can't.
I got real for a second. Yeah,
I hate you. So Milk is streaming on Netflix. If you have Netflix, it's practically free for you to watch. So it comes recommended by both Jay and myself, which is rare for one of Jay's indie films.
I was going to say, and this is probably the longest Jay's indie corner in history.
Well, I mean, it's a great film, and there's a lot to talk about in it. And it comes from a divisive director, which we have a lot to say about the director himself and stuff like that. So maybe pick more indie films like this, and maybe your segment can get a little bit longer and become, a little bit more featured part of the show instead of something I just hurry you along and shut you to fuck up on so I can get to the next segment.
To keep things interesting,
Coming up next, me and Jay are going to run down our personal most disappointing sequels and prequels of all time. And when I say personal, that means I'm not going to be getting into things that I really don't care about. If I didn't care about the first one, why am I going to talk about the significance of how bad the other one was to me? Because really, it's a personal list.
Yeah, stay tuned for this, because this is very difficult.
So stay tuned. Welcome to the beer segment. So before me and Jay get into our beers that we have for this week, our dreaded pumpkin beers.
Dreaded.
This is probably my favorite drunk scene of all time. And it is one of my favorite movies of all time. And it absolutely has one of the best drinking scenes of all time.
Japanese submarine slammed 2 torpedoes into our side, Chief. He was coming back from the island of Tinian to Lady. Just delivered the bomb. The Hiroshima bomb. 1,100 men went into the water. Vessel went down in 12 minutes. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. Sometimes that shark, he looks right into you. Right into your eyes. You know the thing about a shark, he's got lifeless eyes. Black eyes, like a doll's eyes. When he comes at you, he doesn't seem to be living until he bites you. And those black eyes roll over white, and then you hear that terrible high-pitched screaming. The ocean turns red, and in spite of all the pounding and the hollering, they all come in and they rip you to pieces. So 1,100 men went in the war. 316 men come out. The Sharks took the rest June the 29th, 1945. Anyway, we delivered the bomb. Well, and I do to you, fair Spanish lady. Farewell, and I do you, ladies of Spain. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I wanna go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago, and it's got right to my head. Wherever I may roam, by land or sea or foam.
Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I wanna go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago and it went right to my head. I feel really alone in that. I felt like Jay should have been singing that with me.
I'm not a singer, and you know all the lyrics. So
how do you not know the lyrics to that song, man? Even when I was fishing this year, me and my brother just started singing it randomly, and strangers just started jumping in and singing it along with us.
Impressive. That is impressive.
I mean, everyone knows the lyrics to that. So obviously the scene is the absolute one of the best scenes in Jaws. It's Robert Shaw as Quint talking about, they're sitting around, they're drinking, and they're going over their scars. And God, that scene is just so fucking iconic.
And it just pops out of nowhere, and it's just so organic and so perfectly timed.
Well, I mean, it brings levity to what was an extremely heavy scene. As they're going through all their scars, they're going through, Thresher Shark, went through this, Moray Eel bit through my wetsuit, arm wrestling contest, guy dented freaking Robert Shaw's head. I wouldn't be even surprised if like the stories Robert Shaw was telling weren't stories about that Quint was telling, whether they were things that actually happened to Robert Shaw when, if he was ever in the Navy. But he gets in, they make fun of him for his scar that's on his arm, and it's a tattoo that he had removed for the USS Indianapolis. And he goes on, he tells a story about that their mission had been so secret, no one had listed them missing for 2 days. He gets into the 2 Japanese torpedoes hit into the hull, and he just goes through that story of like, the men just bobbing in the waters, the sharks taking them, waiting for his turn.
Right.
He talks about Herbie Robinson and how he was just bobbing in the water with no legs, like no lower half to his torso. And God, that scene, like it's amazing how like it goes from laughter to that. In like a blink of an eye. And Robert Shaw, just absolutely one of the best performances in that movie, comes like right there.
Oh sure.
At that scene, and it's so powerful. And when he talks about like it
also goes to show that is right there below the surface of him as a person. It's always with him, and it comes out.
But it also gives you a real world, like tangible, like feeling to shark attacks, because the way he feels, that you could see it come for that person and that person, stuff like that. And he talks about how those black eyes roll over whiten. And he talks about how being bitten and everything like that, and I was it's absolutely powerful scene. And then of course they break that heavy tension that was built by that scene with them singing drunkenly.
It's perfect.
It's absolutely perfect. I mean, I wish Steven Spielberg still did shit like this.
Yeah, because he was notoriously pretty drunk throughout the shoot, I think. Right?
Yeah, not only was Robert Shaw playing drunk in that scene, Robert Shaw was drunk probably real life. I mean, there's stories about where a lot of them were banned from bars, the crew and the actors, at Martha's Vineyard, because they were just going out to bars, starting shit, and Robert Shaw was the ringleader of that. So.
Oh, God, love it.
All right, so these are the beer segments that me and Jay dread.
Oh.
I think we already punished ourselves.
We did.
I mean, we
kind of warmed ourselves up.
We do run the show. We don't have to do pumpkin beers. Like, there's no producers. There's no studio heads telling us that you have to do pumpkin beers.
But it's an interesting month because like you're mostly not going to like the beer, guaranteed. So you're kind of judging it and grading it in different kind of ways. So it's kind of unique in that way, and it's kind of different. I mean, this beer, for example, that I'm going to be reviewing tonight isn't as bad as last week's, but I still don't like it.
Mine might just be worse. Or right on the same par as the one from last week.
Christina said that she was really surprised that you bought that because
I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it.
No.
I came across it. It was left at my house.
Ah.
So a friend brought it yesterday for the Eagles game.
I feel like I might enjoy that more than you would.
By all means, feel free to try it.
I mean, I will try it, but...
So the beer that I am drinking tonight is the Southern Tier Brewing Company out of Lakewood, New York. This is their cold press coffee pumpkin Imperial Pumpkin Ale. It is 8.6% alcohol per volume, and let me tell you, this thing has an absolutely awful nose. Like, it smells
really
terrible. I cannot stand the way that this beer smells.
Of like
just when I get it up
coffee or just like a mixture of both pumpkin.
Yeah,
and
kind of
coffee?
like it has like this like sour smell to it, like almost.
I wonder if that's like a cold press thing.
Yeah, it might be.
That's like the new trend of 2017 is cold pressed coffees. I've yet to try one because they're expensive as shit for one thing, but
you definitely get a heavy coffee flavor up front, and there's only a hint of pumpkin. It really doesn't smell, too pumpkin-y. It really
smells
doesn't.
like peanut butter.
No, it has like a very earthy smell to it, like very, very like dirt smell.
Oh my god!
Yeah, Jay just tried it.
Holy
it's pretty
shit.
fucking terrible. Now I had one of these yesterday, and
My beer tastes like a 5-star fucking beer after that.
So I mean, it's not good smelling. It's not good tasting. You get a lot of coffee up front. There's like this bitterness to it that I'm just not putting my nose on. And like I said, it has a very dirt flavor,
There's
like
a bitter dirt, like
right in your mouth,
peanut butter-ish.
It's almost like you were
drinking.
drinking coffee and then just like we're licking pumpkins in the pumpkin patch. It's fucking disgusting.
I'm getting a lot of peanut butter though. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So I am giving this a 100% a 1 out of 5. I like Southern Tier a lot, but this is not my bag.
Let me take a sip of my beer before that.
1 out of 5.
All right, so I actually chose the local Chamonix Creek Brewing Company. This is their Punkless Dunkel Pumpkin Wheat Ale. It is 8.8 alcohol per volume, and this one they wanted to do a German style beer, with the classic pumpkin, spice, nutmeg, and cinnamon added in with it. Now, this one doesn't have that burning throat leftover feeling that I had last week.
No, yeah, the one last week, all the spices were on the back end, and this one, the spice flavors, the nutmeg and the cinnamon are very forward in this.
Right, but the nutmeg kind of lingers with you afterwards, and it doesn't sit well with me. And now it's much more drinkable than, say, your beer.
Yeah. And mine's 8.6% alcohol per volume, so I got to drink this whole thing.
Yeah,
and get a little toasty on it.
And it's not. Gosh, yeah, we're grading this on pumpkin beers for the most part, but I think for overall, this is still not like well crafted, not well balanced, and it's very kind of generic in a lot of ways. And I'm gonna go with a 2.5.
I mean, they're pumpkin beers. I mean, we're not gonna like them.
I know it's hard. This is hard.
Luckily, I do have a Southern Tier that
but it's not a pumpkin beer that I feel like I should recommend.
Luckily, I have a Southern Tier that I do like. It is probably my beer of 2017, I'll say.
Ooh.
Because last year I had the Blizzard of Hops from Trogs that I really liked, waiting for that to come back. This is the Southern Tier New School IPA. This is the new Craggle Dank. I love the way this thing smells. I love the nose on it. I love the color. I love the way it pours. It is absolutely glorious. We did review it on the show. I gave it high ratings.
I like that can.
Yeah, I really it's my favorite Southern Tier beer that they do. But I cannot stand this fucking cold pressed pumpkin thing. I'm probably not even going to finish it. It's probably going to sit here.
That is one of the worst beers I've ever had in my life. I feel like I'm not kidding. That thing was. I wanted to punch it in the face. It's that bad.
It's pretty bad. All right, so coming up next, me and Jay are going to get into our top 5 personal most disappointing sequels ever. So stay tuned.
I speak.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent. Now get out of here.
Watch me. I'll do the fingering.
Just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in.
Hey, Parker.
My God, Eddie. Ooh, my spider sense is tingling. If you know what I'm talking about.
Get away from me! The DX have corrupted my system.
You're a teacher?
Part-time.
Welcome back to our top 5. I don't have an intro for top 5. I realize we haven't done top 5 in so fucking long.
It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. But the reason I'm doing this top 5, Jay, is because Blade Runner 2049 is coming out, and Blade Runner is one of those movies that I hold in such high regard. I absolutely love that film, but let's face it, I've been burned by Ridley Scott in the past. Now, he's not directing this film, he's producing it, but it's another beloved Ridley Scott film from my youth that I absolutely love, and I needed to prepare myself for the fact that it might suck, and I needed to remind myself that things that I loved can suck in the end, even when they come back. Some things are coming to mind, and I relived them like a fucking Vietnam flashback. I mean, when I go to bed tonight after we talk about these, it's very possible that Lauren might wake up with a couple bruises because in my dreams there's gonna be a battle. These things still haunt my dreams. These are films that I had such high hopes for because they were sequels to things I love, and then they came out and they just so fucking disappointed me. And I want to share them all with you.
Yeah, this was really hard because for me personally, there are many, and I mean many.
No, it's true. There are a lot, but
and I don't know your list, and you don't know mine,
and I don't know yours,
and I and there's so many other things that we might talk about along that are not on our list that pop up every now and again. But I'll start right off the bat.
Wait, hold on. That's me cracking a beer because I'm gonna need some therapy after this because I'm probably going to rant and rave about everything that was wrong with these sequels that I list and everything that was wrong with me mentally afterwards and how much that these sequels broke me as a man.
I'm sure.
Or as a young lad.
And I think for me personally, the most recent one, I believe, is my number 5.
Okay, well let's get right into it, Jay. Fire the first shot.
You guys know that I love James Bond, and my number 5 is Quantum of Solace. So coming off of Casino Royale,
directed by the same director as Casino Royale, right?
No. This is Mark Forrester, who is also a very hit or miss director.
Okay,
and this is just a straight up weird, very short, revenge follow-up to Casino Royale of sorts.
It's the first James Bond film that was the direct sequel to the James Bond film that came before it. Right. There have been sequels
and the quickest to come out afterwards.
There were sequels to James Bond films in the past where he fights a villain he has fought in the past, but it's the first time they ever did them consecutively, where this is a sequel to a James Bond story that happened was it 2 years before, right?
It wasn't long, and I have a feeling this is one of those cases where the producers just dropped the ball. I think the producers fucked up. They got greedy. They got excited that this new revamped Bond got a lot of praise, a lot of success, and had a lot of excitement behind it, and just greenlit the shit out of this movie and just threw it out there, and it really sucked. I mean, this was as generic as it gets. I mean, it was not exciting. I didn't like any sequences in this movie. I loved the characters that they the actors that they casted in the film. I thought that was all well and good.
The end fight happens in Venice, doesn't it? And they wind up sinking the building.
That's Casino Royale.
That's Casino Royale.
Yeah.
That's how much of
all the good movies. Yeah, all the good parts of a Bond movie. Yeah, it's all Casino Royale.
That's how much of Casino Royale.
Nobody remembers. That's the thing. This is so forgettable. This is fucking.
I do remember
stupid.
20 minutes of this film being him going across the desert, right?
He is in a desert kind of area. Towards in the end, and in this building, and it's just.
See, you hold James Bond in such high regard. That's why this is on your top 5.
Well,
and it's not on mine.
I love that universe. I love that franchise. I love that property. And this coming off of Casino Royale. I mean, I was fucking jonesing. I mean, I was all about it. And Mark Forrester, I like Mark Forrester at that time. He came out with some interesting things.
At that time.
Well, I mean, he's been producing flops after this. Including this. This kind of kick-started it. Paul Haggis wrote it. There were people behind this. I mean, gosh.
Paul Haggis, former Scientologist.
Oh God, it was just so bad. It just was not good at all.
Jay, my number. It is one of the worst. It is one of the worst sequels that I can think of. I don't hold James Bond in such high regard that it would make my list. That's why it's not.
Thank God they rebounded big time
with Skyfall.
Skyfall.
And then they fell right off the map again with
a little bit.
Spectre.
I mean, Spectre wasn't as bad as this for sure. But
no, Spectre wasn't as bad as this, but Spectre was pretty much shit.
It was definitely a letdown, and it was.
I honestly think that's why
it's hard to follow.
Daniel Craig is coming back. I mean, that and a boatload of fucking money, but
sure.
Daniel Craig's coming back because
definitely.
I think he wants to go out on a high note.
Absolutely.
I think he wants the next one to really be something great. But Skyfall is very close to Casino Royale for me, the two best Bonds.
Very different tones. I showed my parents that movie, and they didn't like it as much.
They didn't like Skyfall at all? That's where you find out that James Bond is Batman. He has an Alfred. He was a rich kid. He had a Wayne Manor.
My parents don't do like darker tones very well.
I mean,
they like the camp with so Casino Royale had that little bit of campiness.
Bond is one of those things that you bonded with your no pun intended. You bonded with your dad with. Your dad loved Bond.
I did, and that's what it was.
The Bond that he watched with you was Roger Moore Bond, a little campy and stuff like that. Sean
Connery and more. Yeah.
Right. So to have a Bond
for better or worse,
to have a Bond that's a little bit more grounded, because let's face it, these Bonds all came out after the Bournes, and the Bournes kind of revamped the spy genre,
which I'm all behind.
Right. And for old fans of the series, they were either adapted or fell off, and
it's hard for me to pick which one, because I love both movies, in equal measures. I know I've seen Casino Royale more times. I think it's a little bit more rewatchable.
Outside of Daniel Craig Bonds, what is your favorite Bond movie?
As Dr. No is such a classic, I think I'm going to go with Goldfinger.
Oh, really? Well. Yeah, Dr. No is my favorite.
Is it? I mean, I kind of go back and forth between the two of them, but I think there are moments of that movie, and I like the villain.
I think the only one I didn't like from Sean Connery is You Only Live Twice.
Right.
I think that's the one I didn't like from Connery. But all right, I'll go with that. I think Dr. No's my favorite. It's classic for a reason.
That's definitely way up there for me too as well. I mean, I love those classics, and they're just so much fun and really enjoyable, and especially that time period. These movies fucking boss. I mean, how can you not be a Bond fan?
I mean, Diamonds Are Forever is another classic.
Oh, yeah. I really, for the most part, even a lot of the Roger Moore films, I just kind of enjoy that world that they tried to create. In a lot of ways.
I was never a Roger Moore fan.
Not all of them. Trust me, not all of them.
Moonraker, come on. And Timothy Dalton, didn't like any of those.
Timothy Dalton doesn't exist to me.
GoldenEye was the only Pierce Brosnan one that I enjoyed.
I agree.
So, me and Bond have a tenuous relationship. I certainly don't hold him.
I always give him the benefit of the doubt.
As much regard as you do. It'd be interesting to see where they go after Daniel Craig, though. And I do agree with you. Quantum of Solace, at least for these four that have come out, is the stinker from the Craig series.
And I think as far as this kind of list goes, I think it's only fair to do the Craig series so far.
My number 5, Jay, is far more recent than your Quantum of Solace. I'll be honest, my number 5 originally was Alien Resurrection, and I gave it some thought, and I've changed it. It's Alien Covenant.
And you're looking to buy this on DVD.
I know, right? There's something fucking wrong with me. I own them all. I have to own that one too.
I get it. It's
the collectionist fucking bug that I was bit with.
Your trophies. I know.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking serial killer trophies. Anyway, Alien
Dexter
Covenant
Dave.
just disappointed me so fucking much that there's so many things about it that not only destroyed the continuity of what Ridley Scott had set in Alien, it destroyed the continuity of even the film that he had just made. Well, not just made, but 4 years prior to it with Prometheus. There was just so many things wrong with it, and it just rubbed me in so many wrong ways. And it was coming from a series that I absolutely loved. And as we talked about before, I made my peace with Prometheus. I found things to like in it, and I enjoyed it. Yeah. So I went into this with an open mind. I wasn't expecting to love it, but I went into it with an open mind, and to come out with the reaction that I did. I mean, if you want to know what my reaction was, go back and listen to Super Movie Brothers premium review of Alien Covenant. I go on a massive rant of how much I fucking hate this film. It broke my heart. Like, it honestly broke my heart. I really had high hopes for Ridley Scott returning because, you know, The Martian had come out the year before. He got some praise for it. He showed that he was a capable director still. Because
he insisted on making this movie.
Right, because that was a question in my mind. It was like, well, I mean, he's getting older. Is he still capable? You know, I mean, that happens. You know, you get a little long in the tooth. You kind of lose your voice. You get complacent in life. And I thought maybe, you know, that's where he was in his career. And then he made The Martian. I was like, no, maybe he still is, you know, fucking hard as nails. Maybe he still gets on set. Maybe he still can produce a good movie. And I think he has it in him. I just think he's given such free reign on these Alien films, and he's so close to them that he's not able to take a step back and really realize that, like, and I don't think it's sort of like the George Lucas effect. I don't think anyone involved is willing to say, like, hey, Rid, stop.
Well, from what I hear, he did that with Denis Villeneuve. He kind of just let him take the keys to the Blade Runner franchise and go with it. And I think that was a smart thing to do.
Yeah, it is.
You know?
Absolutely was. But yeah, Alien Covenant rubbed me in so many wrong ways. I thought the characters were just fucking weak. I thought that while the suspense was great throughout it really dragged in the middle, and the fact that it was supposed to be the payoff to what we got in Prometheus, and that payoff was done in a fucking YouTube videos. Characters that from fucking Prometheus were fucking killed off in TV internet spots. Like, it was
the worst part of what about it was you just didn't really care enough about these characters.
I didn't. I mean, Fassbender, fantastic in the film. I mean, god damn it, so good in the film.
He really is. But the thing that they had, the prologue, that dinner scene, did you see that?
I did. Yeah, Jay, I watched everything.
They didn't include it in the movie. That was imperative. That they should have had that in the movie.
This film was
that gives you some kind of context and emotional weight towards these characters. All of the characters.
Jay, this film was so bloated to begin with. They needed to cut things somewhere.
No, that was necessary to be in that movie.
Jay, they just cut the wrong things. All right, Jay, moving on. What is your number 4? I'm not going to wax intellectual. If you want to hear my thoughts on Alien Covenant, just go back and listen to our premium review of it.
Number 4 is Batman and Robin.
That's on my list, sort of. It's on my honorable mentions.
Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. When I was a young lad, and I obviously loved and adored Batman. Had Batman ears on top of my J's. I even enjoyed
Batman Forever.
Yeah, I mean, I really did. I mean, honestly, you know,
for me as a kid, I loved '89 Batman. I did not like Batman Returns.
Definitely did.
I actually liked Batman Forever more than I liked Batman Returns as a kid. Now, I would say Batman Returns edges it out, but I still don't like Batman Returns.
Well, I was a Batman Forever, you know, forgiver, apologist. My gosh.
To this day,
this movie,
George Clooney still sees this as the biggest blight in his career.
Of course, and it is. Bat nips, Schwarzenegger just hamming it up.
Just so many puns.
Oh my god, so many puns.
I love it.
There's gotta be so many good YouTube videos out there.
Jay, I would actually say I enjoy Batman and Robin more than I enjoy Batman Returns, only because of the camp of it and the absolute just ridiculousness.
In this day and age, you can probably watch it just for the fun of it because it's so ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's almost like a cartoon show, like a Saturday morning cartoon show version.
But if you listen to Joel Schumacher talk about it, that's exactly what he was going for. Like, he was going for that '60s feel. Like, he was going for that absolute camp of it. You know, even in that opening scene where they clap their heels together and ice skates come popping out, you know, he was going for that ex machina of, hey, I have bat shark repellent in my belt. But at that
day and age and my age, I guess when I saw this movie, it just did not sit well with me at all. I was getting that too cool for school kind of teenage years or whatever, I guess. And it didn't. It made me angry.
In 1997?
It made me angry.
How old were you in 1997? You were 13 years old.
Maybe teenager, yeah.
That's about right, yeah. But for me, I didn't like it when it came out. I know I didn't, but I did find things to enjoy about it. It's why it really doesn't make my top 5. It was almost like after Batman Forever came out, I was kind of like, I was really okay with anything. It was okay. It didn't matter. It couldn't get much worse, and it did get worse. But I expected it. All right, Jay, my number 4. This is something that I found It's a film that I always watched with my dad. I remember watching it on AMC a bunch of times. Godfather Part 1, Part 2. I absolutely love those films. And I had never seen Godfather Part 3. AMC didn't play it like back then. It played Godfather Part 1, Part 2, and it was fantastic to watch those two back to back. I didn't actually see Godfather Part 3 until like 2008 when I was working at Blockbuster. I was like, fuck yeah, I'll just rent it. I'm gonna watch this shit. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna marathon the Godfathers, and then I'm gonna watch Godfather Part 3 because I never saw it. And fucking shit, the fuck was I in for? I mean, Jesus. Like, first off, I understand that Michael was older, but I mean, Tom Hagen dead off screen. Talia Shire just fucking awful in the film. Sophia Coppola, terrible actress.
Shit.
Andy Garcia, terrible actor in that film. Just does such a shit job. There were so many instances where I didn't understand what was going on because it felt like in the first 45 minutes of the film, they're just throwing you clips of mobsters doing mobster things.
Yeah, it made no sense. It was
like
a terrible script. The actors didn't know what the hell they were doing.
They're doing the Italian Day Parade, and obviously, Andy Garcia comes riding up on the horse, and he shoots the guy, and he's like, "Hey, Zaza!" It's so fucking terrible. And then you go through the rest of the film, and I really understood I understood that Michael was ready to give it up. He's been trying to go legitimate since he fucking killed Fredo. He's been trying to go legitimate. It's been his entire goal is to be a legitimate businessman, to legitimize his family. Yeah. And every time he does it, like, I really get it. And I actually really enjoy that scene where he's like, every time I get out, they keep pulling me back in.
I was just going to say that's the best part of the line. Yeah. Best part of the movie is that line.
He does it.
It's understandable because you're right. He does say that even I think in the first movie, even like he always had that thing where he wanted to be legitimate.
Well, it's because his father tells it to him in the first film. He never wanted this life for Michael. He always wanted Michael to be the politician. He wanted Michael to be the legitimate one. He didn't want this for him, and Michael didn't want this for himself. But honestly, when he looked around, it was either Fredo or Sonny who was going to take over. Sonny was a fucking powder keg and a fucking hothead. He never could have. He would have ran the family into the ground. And Fredo was too much of a fucking pussy to ever run the family the way that it needed to be ran. Michael was the only one who had the ability and the mindset to do it, but he never wanted it for himself, and his father never wanted it for him, and it's been a struggle ever since then to get back. It's almost like you watched him lose himself in it in 1 and 2, and then 3 was meant to be his redemption, and it just, there was so many things wrong with the film, just pacing wise, acting wise, and story wise, like characters acting completely out of character. God,
it was all around.
You wanted that scene where Talia Shire, confronts Michael about killing Fredo to be extremely powerful, and it just winds up being almost silly and just absolutely over the top in a way that held absolutely no resonance whatsoever. Yeah, and then you end it on Michael's, what you want to say is tragic death, but really, I think the tragic death for Michael would have been for him to have died as a mobster, not retired, sitting on a park bench, dropping an orange and falling down, where you're just basically being derivative of your first film, and you're being, you're paying homage to Garland. Yeah. You didn't give Michael his own story. You ended him where his father ended. Yeah. He didn't even have his own story in the end. He basically had his father's story. Yep. And showing that, like, the American dream, really doesn't change much from generation to generation, where you would want to be left hopeful in that the American dream can be achieved and each generation can get better. It was just, it just left me with so many sour fucking grapes. So many sour grapes.
Exactly. My number 3.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 3. I know that's got to be on your list.
It is. I'll reveal where it is later, but go ahead.
First of all, Spider-Man, I'm not a comic book person. Everybody knows that. But Spider-Man, the franchise, that movie, Sam Raimi, Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, that Spider-Man 2 trailer. I mean, I was screaming when I first saw that trailer, when it first dropped on TV. I forget what it was plugged to. It was next to like some kind of, I don't know, football game. Who knows? Whatever it was. I was so enamored with that property. The movies were fantastic. They were so fun to watch.
They were, yeah.
Loved them. They were really well
One
done.
was
really
good.
Well told.
2 was fantastic. Still one of the best comic book movies that was ever made.
Absolutely. Man, third just was like all over the place. It went like camp out the ass. James Franco's character was just... It was.
I mean, the backstory.
It was so all over the place.
The backstory to it is that Sam Raimi wasn't allowed to make the film he wanted to make. They kind of forced him to add in Venom.
There are a lot of story
he
points to this. You probably know more better than me.
He underplayed Venom purposely because the studio forced him to. He really phoned this one in purposefully because he really didn't fucking care at that point. Sony muscled him around. He didn't. He really wasn't interested in making the film anymore. It's the reason that even though he was still asked by Sony to make a fourth one, because this one still made money regardless of its poor reception.
Well, of course, people are going to go see it because of the success of Spider-Man 2.
It was in storyboarding. He even had a script and everything like that. He ended up giving up 4 just because of the way he felt after 3. He just didn't want to do it, and Sony eventually just wanted to move on and say, like, you know what, you're not into it, we're not into it, we're just gonna irreconcilable differences. We need to part ways.
The cheesy buddy thing, with him and Franco, and then
oh my god,
the jazz scene.
I got you, buddy. Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Oh my god, it was
Eskimo Brothers for life. We both banged MJ. High five.
It was skin crawling,
dude.
High five.
High five.
Skin crawling.
It was.
And then the jazz
but
scene when he goes
so
dark
cool,
and he's
right?
doing all these weird dances and like doing all kinds of weird stuff.
But it started out so
like,
cool,
what
right?
What movie am I watching right now?
That fight between him and Green and the second Green Goblin in the beginning, it started out really cool. Like you're kind of like
I like the look of the black suit, for example. Like, I mean, I always liked the way the costume looked.
And I remember it was like Spider-Man 3 was the first GIF that I ever saw, or GIF, whatever the fuck you want to say. I don't care. It was one of the first GIFs that like I ever like remember like having on my computer. It was him in the black suit sitting on top of the gargoyle, and like lightning and rain were falling down around him. And I was like, God, it's so badass.
It is.
So
no, it is.
Badass.
I love the costume. I love the outfit.
And comic book lovers, comic book
I was really excited, and I think that's a part of the problem.
Love Venom.
I mean, I was extremely hyped for this.
As far as Spider-Man villains go, it's like Green Goblin, then Venom. Like, Venom is so...
Well, we'll talk about it more later, Dave. Let's just
regarded.
move on, because, it's on your list then.
It's one of my most heartbreaking things I've ever seen in my entire life. Number 3, Jay. Terminator 3. Rise of the Machines.
This would have been obviously on my honorable mentions. Yeah.
I'm so happy that when Terminator 6 comes out, this will also be stricken from the record as well as Genesis.
Because whatever
and
James
Salvation.
Cameron says goes. So apparently every fucking Terminator movie doesn't exist anymore other than his, the first one and the second one.
And now we know.
And I don't blame him because every other one sucked.
And now we know that Tim Miller is directing Terminator 6. So fingers crossed, here's hoping. But, I've been burned 3 times now by Terminator films after Judgment Day. I'm really not hopeful for much.
Even the trailer has to be jaw dropping for me to even get excited for this movie.
Give a shit.
I honestly I'll see it in theaters. I will.
Terminator 3 set its tone for me.
But
I remember seeing it in the theaters. I was a senior in high school, I want to say, or junior in high school. I went to go see it. I was in love with the Terminator and Judgment Day. I couldn't wait to see this movie, Jay. I knew that James Cameron wasn't directing it, but I really thought that, it would at least continue the story, pay homage, and be something resembling what had come before it. 5 minutes in, Arnold, comes into the biker bar, beats up a bunch of dudes, and then puts on those bedazzled star sunglasses, and I was like, what the fuck? It just set the entire tone for the movie.
Entire thing.
Because, this director was like, they were like, oh, we've done this before. He zaps in naked, beats up guys, takes their clothes, becomes a badass. Does it again. The second one, comes in naked, beats up guys in a biker bar, puts on the sunglasses. He's a badass. What if we do a riff on that, and he's not a badass, and he's just kind of like a daddy figure this time?
Dickhead's trying to be funny.
I was just like, motherfucker.
You're fucking with the characters and the story. Like, you're being vain and selfish with doing that.
Not to mention, like, Edward Furlong didn't come back. They got
he was in rehab during that time.
Yeah. Fuck it. I don't. Jay, I've seen this movie twice.
No, honestly,
it's fucking terrible.
I also probably saw it once or twice. I don't
even
really
like the female Terminator. I don't even like the idea of it that it's part T800 and part T1000. Yeah, it's liquid metal and solid metal. I didn't care that it was a female Terminator. I mean, I don't think that gender even matters to Terminators. I hated the fact that Sarah Connor was given an unceremonious death. I hated the fact that digging up her grave just revealed a bunch of guns, and it was just action. It was everything that was wrong with Genesis. Action set piece after action set piece with zero character development, with zero moving on of the story until the very end when the nukes actually fucking hit and Judgment Day actually happens. That was the only momentum that they did for the entire story. It really did nothing for any of the characters whatsoever. I absolutely couldn't stand it. It fucking broke my fucking heart. Yeah. All right, Jay, what do you got for number 2?
Anchorman 2.
Oh, it's another one that I actually nixed that from my list and even from honorable mentions because while I do love Anchorman,
my God.
While I do love Anchorman, I didn't really hold it in that high regard. I enjoyed it for what it was. I had a lot of fun with it. I never expected them to capture that lightning in a bottle again, and when they did, I expected that it would suck, and it did. Same thing with Zoolander.
This was. Look, I'm tough. I'm a tough critic with comedies. There are not many comedies that I like. I'm not fun.
No, you're not. You're not a fun person at all.
So I love Anchorman. I mean, I love the humor. I think it works. And even a lot of that kind of humor usually doesn't even work for me a lot of times. But
you are about as fun as wet sand in my bathing suit, just grinding against my fucking taint.
Yes, exactly. It's still a mystery how we're friends. I don't know. But this movie was borderline walking out the movie theater bad. I mean, this was atrocious. The fight, the final big massive fight sequence where they literally had probably a 2-week segment where they were like, any A-list actor who's in the area who wants to be in our film, come on, pop over, put on a funny costume.
Jay, it's
you can improv your dialogue.
It's everything that
what the fuck?
It's complete misunderstanding of what made you great in the first place. I mean, that's exactly what it is. They thought that the random nature of what they did was what was popular in the first place, and they forgot that really what made it popular in the first place was great editing and letting these guys ad lib everything.
You just lost all kinds of respect for Adam McKay. I mean, he came, he rebounded, thank God, but still, he still has this on his resume. Right. This is a movie that
I think this is
completely disgusting.
I think the things that were probably left on the cutting room floor were probably funnier than what we got. It was just a problem with editing at 100%. Where the first one was probably a master comedy of editing, where it was ad libs. They took the best things that worked the best for the tone of the scene that they had, and this one they just went completely random, and it was too self-aware of what the first one was, is the problem with it. And I left it off the list because I had no high hopes for it. It was a sequel I didn't expect to happen. It was a sequel that wound up happening that I really wasn't asking for, but I still loved the first one. Same thing with Zoolander. I wasn't chomping at the bit for a Zoolander sequel.
Oh, I'm not even going to watch a Zoolander sequel.
Yeah, I didn't.
I can't watch it.
I wasn't chomping at the bit for it, but they did it because Ben Stiller needed something to do.
I don't love that movie that much. I mean, I don't love it at all. I kind of enjoyed it, but it's not worth watching for a sequel, especially since it's being panned. But this movie just was absolutely
Harrison Ford showing up and turning into a werewolf was like the moment where I was like, why is this even happening? If they had set up somewhere earlier on that a werewolf had been seen.
I have no words. This is like the most disgusting movie I've ever seen in my life.
If they had set up earlier on that, like, hey, a werewolf is seen in the streets of San Diego, I'd be like, it kind of makes sense. Okay. Now we know that the werewolf is Han Solo. That makes sense to me.
Oh, God.
But they didn't, no setup whatsoever for that joke. And that's the problem. They didn't set up their jokes. They just threw the jokes at you and
it was just so utterly painful.
Like cook spaghetti. Let's just throw it at the wall and see what sticks.
I guess.
Jay, my number 2 is Spider-Man 3. Spider-Man 3 broke my heart, as we said. It was one of those films. I've had people die in my life and was not as sad as when I walked out of Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
I mean, some people have died in my life, and I was sadder than when I saw Spider-Man 3. But I still put Spider-Man 3 as one of the saddest days of my life. Walking out of that film and just being like, what the fuck did I just watch? Is it possible that I'm wrong? Like, I remember asking people, what did you think of the film? And like, it was fucking terrible. I was like, oh my God, okay, thanks. And I was asking friends, family, like anyone who saw it, I was like, did you like it? And people were like, no. I was like, thank God. Like, I was so worried that like I
you missed it.
That I was like, was I completely wrong? Opposite effect. The year before, the movie that came out was Superman Returns, and I hated it. I got out of the theater and I fucking hated it. And I talked to all my friends, and they were all like, "No, that movie was fucking amazing. Are you kidding me? That was just like that was just like the Donner Supermans. It was amazing." And I was like, fuck, I'm so wrong. I hated this movie. And then like later on, I start like reading reviews and stuff after I saw it, and people were like, this movie sucks. And I was like, I was the right one. So Spider-Man 3, it was just so fucking bad, and I thought the characterization and the portrayal of Venom was just the worst part. I mean, it was absolutely terrible.
It really was.
I mean,
it was just so bad.
By the end, I remember my palms in my face when I heard Venom go, and I was like, why is he squealing? Like, Venom, the sound Venom makes is... But instead, I heard like a raptor shriek. Everything was just so wrong about it, and the relationship between Peter and Harry just seemed so forced that they came together at the end. And pie, Jay, so warm, so good. So good. That scene made me cringe. The fucking jazz scene made me cringe. The like rehashing, Peter having MJ troubles was so,
it was such a confusing movie, like of so many different kind of levels and ways, because you didn't understand what you were watching and why it was on screen.
Oh, my balls is what I felt like, because I was like, I wasn't just sick to my stomach, Jay. I was sick to my balls watching it. Like, my nuts hurt.
Like, how does the same filmmaker produce 1 and 2 and put this on screen before my eyes? Like, what is going on? Is this like a practical joke? Like, it didn't make any sense.
Jay, before you get to your number 1, do you have any honorable mentions?
Obviously I do, but I did not care to put them down because I just there's too many. There's just way too many. And
honorable mentions for me, I'll just run through real quick. Blues Brothers 2000, Jonathan Landis returns to direct it, obviously without Belushi.
Yes.
And while I feel John Goodman did okay in the role, filling in, I really didn't feel that the film, it failed to capture what made Blues Brothers
should not have been
so
made.
phenomenal. No. Batman and Robin, which you had on your list, which we talked about already. Superman Returns, which I just talked about. So many problems with that film. Just logistic problems, just problems with continuity alone. Not to mention the fact that Superman has a child and then refuses to take care of it. Like, that just makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
And then one of the most disappointing films, it's actually a prequel, is The Thing from 2011. We've talked about that before on the show. My big problem with that film is not so much the content, but the execution. One of the things that made the film, made The Thing great, was great practical effects. John Carpenter's directing, and the characters in it. I didn't feel the characters were as strong in The Thing 2011, but the fact that you use CGI to portray this creature really fucking bothered me. I felt they should have. The fact that the director even went as far as to film scenes twice, once with practical effects and once without it, and the studio went with the CGI effects.
Oh, I did not hear that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. The director actually wanted to pay homage to the original one.
Them.
And the studio went with CGI instead because it was easier.
They should unleash the other version. I mean,
not fully filmed scenes, all test footage with the practical effects. But the practical effects were created for the film and they didn't use them. That's one of the most disappointing things that I ever heard about that film, was that the practical effects.
Well, that was that day and age and that era when everything was all about the CGI.
It's also after Stan Winston's death and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, it's fucking terrible. That film might as well have been The Thing 3D, with the way it came out. So sad that it's nowhere near as good as the original. and it's something that very easily could have been. Not as good, but at least could have paid homage and been a well done prequel. But the fact that it just didn't use practical effects really hurt it. Just really hurt it. Now if you ever want to watch, the thing from 2011, as it's going to stand in stark contrast and juxtaposition to the original thing. Where it could have very easily have been a companion that worked very well with it, and it just didn't.
Sure.
All right, Jay, what's your number one?
I did not allude to it earlier, but it is The Godfather Part 3.
Ah.
It is.
It's pretty terrible, right? Hurts your balls.
Mostly because this is this is one of those,
Oh, gee, gosh, heck. Oh, geez, Rick.
This is one of those things
Godfather
where
3 is so terrible.
Yeah, again, like I watched this with my father, and I grew up watching it, and this is one of those things I adored. It's one of those things that really got me into, dramatic filmmaking and the process of just storytelling. And
Godfather is one of the most beautiful pieces of cinema that's ever been made.
The Godfather and Part 2, and and it's really, I still to this day have a really difficult time choosing which one I prefer the most over. It's
tough
over one.
It really is tough.
It really is. I mean, it really is. And then for them to take such a long break between Part 2 and Part 3, and then come
Mike,
back.
you don't come to Las Vegas and talk to a man like Mo Green like that. Never go against the family again.
I
Fredo.
always loved that turn and look, and he's like,
never go against the family again, Fredo.
Yes.
Oh my God, I fucking love it. God, I love The Godfather.
And the way he just looked at it, he had that perfect look. It was a great camera look.
God, that baptism scene where just all the enemies of the Corleone family are being bumped off during his fucking son's christening is fucking amazing. Oh, Jesus Christ.
It's ruthless. And I loved how they paid homage to the first one. And the third one, we already talked about it a little bit earlier, and I didn't talk too much into it, but like everything was completely wrong. Miscasted. The script was wrong. The way it was edited was wrong. The way it was shot was wrong. Why the fuck did you? Winona Ryder was originally going to be the Sofia Coppola character.
Still wouldn't have enjoyed
that either.
Don't think that's good casting.
But I guess it would have been somewhat better. I don't know. She was just an eyesore and just was cringeworthy.
Yeah.
Gosh, and you can see Al Pacino was trying.
I guess.
Kind of.
All right, Jay.
But he hadn't have much to do.
I'm ready for my number one.
Yeah, there's not much more.
I can't believe this wasn't on your list.
It was really sad.
I don't know why it wasn't. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
That was going to be on my honorable mention. That was one of those ones that was on my list, and I kind of bump off.
To this day, I still can't believe that this film was made. Just from the onset of the film, I love the way it opened. I love the car race. I love the fact that it was like, this is the 1950s. This is what Indiana Jones is in. I was like, it's great. Fucking great. Yeah. The even the whole scene in the
it was fun.
Even the whole scene, like, in the Area 51 area where they were hiding like all the artifacts and stuff like that, and he gets to drop that line and he's like, it's the Ark of the Covenant, and I was like, he knows it's that because that's where it was kept. This is great. And then like it started getting like real fucking cheeky, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like north, south, east, west. Like I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like,
but
I was okay with Indiana Jones being a bit of a doddering fool, but the fact that, like, oh my God.
But the way they shot his action sequences were extremely noticeably awkward and slow / very noticeable that it was a stunt double. That was also part of the problem.
It doesn't even bother me
as well.
that it was that the storyline involved aliens, because it was the 1950s. You know what I mean? Like the original ones took place in the 1930s, and they were very reminiscent of what was going on in the 30s, and the end of colonialism, India over, in the second one, and then again the Nazis in the third one. It was all very reminiscent of things that were going on in the 30s, where this one took place in the 50s, and it made sense that it was going to be a sort of a sci-fi flick, because it was the birth of sci-fi in the 50s, so it all made sense. It was just the way Harrison Ford played the character. It was the CGI that was used, the direction that it went in. Like, there was points where gophers were popping out of holes when Indiana Jones fell out of a fucking refrigerator, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, why do I need a fucking CGI gopher in front of him for? That doesn't even fucking need to be there. Get it the fuck out of there. And
there was way too much CGI that was just
and they played
disgusting.
up the
The
fact
ants
that, like,
and stuff like that. Like, it was
that bothered me so much. I was like, Siafu ants don't even live in the Amazon. They live in Africa.
It just didn't make any sense. And like, what?
And
you're spending all that money on
it made
CGI
sense that it was going
ants?
to be Russia, that it was going to be Russians instead of Nazis. That makes sense for the 1950s.
And my girl Kate Blanchett's just hamming it up, and Shia LaBeouf is the whole thing was
God.
a mess.
Jay,
he was just a disgrace.
I remember watching this film in the theaters and finding things to still enjoy about it and like defending it in my own mind, and then that scene happens where he swings through the trees with monkeys following him to attack the Russians, and I was like, that's it. That was the last moment that like I can't defend it anymore. Just to this day, I don't like I own the film and I've seen it twice.
I know. I don't know why I own it either.
I own all the Indiana Jones films. I bought them all on a box set that came in this really fucking cool like leather briefcase. That was
nice.
And it has stamps of Cairo and
that's sexy,
Alexandria, and like all this stuff that in all these places that Indiana Jones went to in like all the original films.
Nice.
And the bullwhip hangs from it, the hat sits on top of it and stuff like that. It's really fucking sexy. But it came with Crystal Skull, like the downside to it. It's just Crystal Skull. It's one of those things that broke my heart so much. And I would even say that like Steven Spielberg hasn't been him since then. Like you know
what's also breaking my heart? That the same screenwriter is developing the next Indiana Jones movie.
Right, but this time George Lucas
David Koepp
isn't attached. He'll be a producer on it, but he won't be on set like he was for the last one.
Okay. But Spielberg, Ford, all coming
and
back.
Disney owns it now, and Disney, as we've seen with Star Wars, knows what makes things magic.
Well, and they also know what they dropped the ball on the last episode. You know.
And the fact that you ended it with Indiana Jones getting married, I don't mind that he winds up with Marion Ravenwood in the end. That's fine.
That's fine.
But don't have him getting married. Like, don't show me the marriage. Don't. I hated the whole thing where it's just like, school's not for everyone, kid. You got to do what makes you happy. And he finds out it's his son. He's like, you got to go back to school. And I was like, what the fuck? I always hated that one-liner too. And it's like, you're
so
a teacher?
aware of itself.
Part-time.
God.
It
just made you like they just dumbed everything down to like who do you think this audience is for? Like, are you trying to dumb everything down? You think like the audience is just like 70-year-old people who are like having a difficult time following movies, and
it felt like they were making a film that was very reminiscent of the prequels, where like we know what made this other one popular, but we still need to appeal to the younger crowd, to kids. And it's like, no, it's not who you're appealing to this. You're appealing to me and other people who saw these films and fucking fell in love with them. That's who you're appealing to. Like, the only way to make this film is to make it like the originals, is to pay homage to the originals. And instead they went this complete far left of it, and it's just so bad. It's just it's the sequel that breaks my heart the most, because Steven Spielberg is back to direct. Harrison Ford is back.
I mean, that was honestly probably going to be my number 6.
Everything makes sense, right? He's fighting Russians. He's going up against aliens and like all this stuff. And like, it all makes sense. I think this is going to be a good film. And I go watch it. I was like, how did you fuck this up so fucking badly? Like, it's really a very simple formula. You have a character who's already been established. He has a MacGuffin. He's going to go after it, and you do it in some fun ways. You throw a little comedy in there. You throw some great action in there, and instead, they put this weird, like, jokey, fun filter over everything that just didn't fit with the rest of the franchise.
And the aesthetic, the cinematography, production values, it all was just
absolutely
cheap looking.
So that's going to do it for Super Movie Brothers tonight. If there's any sequels that we left off either of our lists or our honorable mentions list that you feel like we should discuss, reach out to us on Twitter at SuperMoviePod on there. You can also check us out on our network website where we were the featured podcast last week. This week, the featured podcast is How Have You Not Seen This from the Podfix Network, and you can check all that out at www.podfixnetwork.com. Jay, Untapped?
Yeah, check us out on Tapped, Super Movie Bros podcast. So,
Jay also
follow our beers, and I guess we uploaded our beers for tonight on there, and then we're going to be uploading beers that we've been drinking throughout the week.
Jay also shittily runs our Facebook. He just kind of posts new episodes. He really doesn't talk to anybody on there, but
nobody talks to me.
Well, follow us on Facebook, Super Movie Brothers Podcast on there. I want to thank everybody for listening. Have a great night. Cheers.
Cheers.